Meet the Aventon Aventure M, where M stands for mid-drive. Ever since Aventon dropped the A100 motor on the Rambless, we've been dying to see it hit another model. And now it's landed on none other than perhaps what Aventon is most known for, a fat tire electric bike. With 100 Newton meters of torque, yes, that's what the 100 stands for, paddle shifters for electronic shifting, Aventon's ACU smart features, full app customization, and yes, a throttle, at least as an option. This bike is packed with features. But here's the big question, does it deliver on all of this hype? In this full review, first I'll walk you through every single component, then I'll take you along on some first-person riding footage. There's talk of automatic shifting, and then I'll wrap things up with some third-person riding footage, tell you the pros and cons, and compare it to the Aventon Adventure 3. Stick around because you won't want to miss what's coming. But first, let's take a closer look. First off, another mid-drive on an Aventon e-bike is not a surprise. The A100 motor was such a hit that we knew that they were going to bring it to another model. We just didn't know how long we would have to wait, so I'm so excited that it's here. Everyone wants to know price because this is a mid-drive motor, and with mid-drive motors come increased costs. The Aventure M comes in at $28.99, right around the same price as the Aventon Rambless. If you aren't familiar, what really sets Aventon apart is their 1,800 plus dealership network, which really pits them more against some of the mainstay brands, Specialized, Giant, and Trek. And what you get is, in my opinion, an incredible looking electric bike. I mean, check out these smooth welds around the frame. But not only that, their bikes are typically also priced lower than some of those industry giants. If this review has helped you decide on an Aventon, do me one quick favor, just use our link down in the description or scan the QR code on your screen now before you buy. It's free and directly supports our efforts here at eBike Escape. And if you buy in store, just email me your receipt, ryan@ebikeescape.com. We can still get credit. The three color options are Basalt, Pacific, and what you see here, Camouflage, this nice green color. And you get two frame choices, size regular for riders 5'3" up to 5'10", or what you see here, size large for riders 5'10" up to 6'4". I'm 6 feet tall with a 32-inch inseam, and my wife, who's 5'5", made it work on the size large. The weight capacity is 400 pounds. The bike weighs in at 73 pounds. The bike itself is rated to IPX6 for water resistance, and that A100 motor is rated to IPX67. With that, let's dive into all the components. You get name brand hydraulic disc brakes. These are from SRAM. They're the DB4s. That means 4 pistons. Those are paired with a 200 millimeter rotor in the front and a more standard size 180 millimeter rotor in the rear. More on this piece of metal in a little bit. Tires are 26 by 4 inches wide. These are from Nova, of course, a knobby tread for off-road riding. The front wheel attaches with a through axle. The front suspension is Aventon branded, but it comes from a company called Zoom. Preload adjustment on the left, lockout on the right with multiple adjustments, and it offers 80 millimeters of travel. You get metal fenders front and rear. There's 4 mounting points on the head tube for Aventon's front rack. The front light runs off the main battery and attaches to the stem. And in the rear, you have running lights as well as turn signals. Note that the rear lights are not brake actuated. There's matching SRAM DB4 hydraulic disc brake levers. Note, no motor cutoffs. We have locking grips, the optional thumb throttle. And what's nice is it's plug and play. There'll be an extra cable here that's capped off and simply attach the throttle. And then on the right, the paddle shifters just up and down. Check this out. That controls your derailleur. And there's an additional button on the rear here. More on that in a second. Moving to the display, there's a USB-A port located at the bottom. Power button in the center on the left-hand controls. At the top, we have the battery percentage. Below that, we have the current gear, which of course changes when you shift gears. And then hitting the button behind the paddle shifters will change what's displayed there. Over to power, torque, cadence, and back to gear. Speed, front and center. Pedal assist in the bottom left. Off, eco, sport, auto, or turbo. You might have noticed the estimated range changes at the bottom depending on your pedal assist level. We also have odometer. Hitting the power button will cycle through additional information: average speed, max speed, total time, some CO2 reduced, and back to odometer and range. You can turn the lights on by holding pedal assist up, indicator on the top left. And if you're in a pedal assist level, you can hold pedal assist down, and that gets you into walk mode, and that only engages when you're trying to move the bike. Turn signals can be turned on by hitting the left or right button. Press again to turn it off. To get into the advanced settings, simply hold pedal assist up and down at the same time. We have clear trip, then battery lock. No keys on this bike. Simply hit the power button to unlock your battery and remove it. Then we have the bike lock. So if I press the power button on the bike lock, you'll hear a pin engage, and now the bike can't be moved. Next, display unit, screen brightness, auto power off. Then we have auto shift. Yes, I'll be testing this out. You can turn it on or off, set the cadence, limit the torque. Right now it's set to 30 Newton meters. Then we have password, and what's cool is you just use pedal assist up and down and the turn signals left and right to set a password. There's error history, system info, and perhaps most importantly, connect to app. So one of the things that sets the Aventon bikes out from a lot of their competitors is for sure the app. So I'm going to add a new bike here, hit connect to app on the display. We'll call this Aventure M, and I'll hit pair. Now it wants my personal information to register my bike, and it wants me to scan my serial number, which is located beneath the frame. That makes registering your bike super easy. In the Me tab, there's a bunch of medals you can earn depending on how much you ride your Aventon e-bike. In the Discover tab, you can network with other Aventon e-bike owners. You can view your recorded rides over days, months, or years. Of course, you can record a ride as well, but where you'll want to spend some time is on the e-bike tab. Looks like I have an update to do before I ride it. We'll select later. So here you have access to some of the controls within the display. Right away, it asks me to activate network. I am going to activate it because that gives me additional security. It's free for 1 year, and then after that, it's $20 a year, which I think is fair for what you get. And what this allows you to do is control your bike from anywhere, locate it. You can put your bike in lost mode, as you'll see. So I'll click activate network. We're going to skip more settings for a second, but you can view the current location of your bike. Under service, you can locate a dealer. Yes, there are 1,800 of them. They also have suggestions for maintenance intervals. But in more settings, this is where you get tons of control of this bike. Let's talk about the important ones. Under unusual activity detection, you can crank that up if you want. You can lock the bike when it's powered off. That's a handy feature for security. You can turn the alarm on or off. This is how the alarm sounds. So the bike is locked. We're going to move it around. And that is how the alarm sounds. Not super loud, but it's something. And something new from Aventon is uphill start assist. As the name implies, it just allows you to get started on hills easier. You can customize the auto shift within the app. There's crank calibration. This allows you to have a better auto shift experience. You can set the speed limit all the way up to 28 miles per hour as a Class 3 electric bike. Yes, I'll be testing that out. In Ride Tune, this is where you have full customization of the 3 levels of pedal assist. And there we go. In Turbo, that's what I like to see. Everything is maxed out, but you can turn it down if you'd like. In security verification, you can activate lost mode. And as we've had with other Aventon models, we have geofencing. You can restrict certain areas. You can allow a certain area. I'll go into allow and say I typically ride in a certain area. I can move these pins around to the area that I ride in, and if someone were to steal this bike, it's just going to shut down once they exit that area. And that is it for the Aventon display and app. Moving on to the battery, which is located beneath the down tube here. I'll unlock it from the controls. So it partially releases, and then you simply press the handle and that will fully release the battery. So you have a nice grab handle. There's a button on the bottom to give you an idea of the current charge. And then of course you have the charger port. Simply remove the rubber cover, attaches right here. The battery is 36 volt, 20 amp hours using LG cells. They say it can go up to 85 miles. The battery is certified to UL 2271. The entire bike's electronics are certified to UL 2849. And if you're looking for safe storage, or perhaps you're traveling with your electric bike, might I recommend our battery bag. It's flame resistant and waterproof. Fits this battery easily. It's a roll top bag. Simply snap into place. And you have a nice handle. To put the battery back in, terminals first, and simply snap into place. Included is a 4 amp charger, which means from empty, it'll take 5 hours to charge it back up to full. You also get bike grease, an Aventon multi-tool, a user manual, some stickers, and a handy addition is a replacement derailleur hanger. The saddle is Aventon branded, certainly not as narrow as a mountain bike saddle, offers a little bit more width. You do get a suspension seat post with 50 millimeters of travel. This is what you can expect. And note, there is a preload adjustment at the bottom. There's Aventon's ACU, and you have 2 bottle cage bosses on the down tube. And this is a perfect use case for our Sidewinder ABC cage. Mount it right here. It's side load, so it's easier to get the water bottle in, and also fully adjustable in case you have a larger water bottle. It's the best one on the market. I'm not just saying that. Available at shop.ebikeescape.com. Here's the star of the show, the Aventon A100 motor, 100 Newton meters of torque, 250 watt nominal. Peak power is 750 watts. The motor is engaged with a torque sensor. I'll talk all about how that feels in our upcoming first-person riding footage. The metal pedals are slightly wider than we typically see. There's a rear-mounted kickstand, and it comes with a rear rack with a 59-pound capacity, complete with pannier hangers. A lesser-known fact about this rear rack is it is MIC compatible, which means it works with all the MIC accessories that we sell. This is our Dairyman. It's a nice basket, and any MIC accessory will simply click into place. And we offer a bunch of different bags that have zippers, roll down panniers, pretty much anything you need for storage. The derailleur is Shimano Q's. This is what is set to replace a lot of the entry-level derailleurs from Shimano, like Altus. You get a 10-speed cassette, 11 to 39 teeth in the rear, and a 44-tooth front chainring, single-sided. There's a nice chainstay protector. Check out the internal cable management, both for the derailleur as well as the brake line. With that, let's get into some first-person riding footage, see how the bike does up our hill climb test, test out the throttle, and of course the pedal assist levels. Remember, this is a mid-drive motor, so the motor is turning the gears, so it's going to depend what gear I'm in. And specifically with a mid-drive electric bike with a throttle, you want to be careful when you're using the throttle because you don't want to put undue stress in a higher gear from a stop. Just a note, with pedal assist turned off, no access to the throttle, but full access in any pedal assist level. So I'm in first gear. And just remember, compared to any hub drive electric bike, this isn't going to get to 20 as fast. I have to go through the gears, which I'll talk through. All right, here we go, throttle only, first gear. A nice gentle takeoff, but now it's ramping into power and I do need to shift up. There's third gear. Fourth gear. Let's go into fifth, sixth, and this doesn't have shift sensors, which means it's not cutting power to the motor every time I shift. We're getting closer to 18. There's eighth gear. And there's 20 miles an hour. So it looks like you need to be in seventh or eighth gear. Let's see if I can do that a little bit faster. All right, starting off, first gear, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and there's eighth gear, and 20 miles an hour. All right. So nice to have it, though you do need to be careful what gear you're in. Now, yes, this does have automatic shifting. Don't worry, we'll get there. I can't wait to talk about it. But first, I want to go through the 3 levels of pedal assist. We'll skip auto for now. I'll talk about that separately. And I also want to just manually shift so I can much more easily talk about the pedal assist levels. So we'll shift all the way down here. And I should mention the paddle shifters are just very intuitive, especially maybe for some newer riders. You just press down and up, just like your pedal assist levels. All right, we are going to start in eco. Remember, this A100 motor is using a torque sensor, which means the more power I put into the pedals, the more power I'm going to get from the motor. All right, first gear in eco. Remember, 3 levels of pedal assist. I'll put up the specs on the screen for the 3 pedal assist levels, and let's see what this bike can do. All right, and it's just so responsive. Immediately, even in eco, as soon as I moved my pedal, I got power from the motor. All right, I'm going to shift up so it's a little bit easier to provide power. 3rd gear there, 4th. All right, and just gently spinning my legs, nice and easy. Let's shift up once more to 5th gear, cruising at 12 miles an hour. And again, just nice and easy. A pace I think a lot of people could do. And by the way, I told you earlier about those additional settings here. It's really nice to see your gear right in the center. And then also the power and the torque. And then of course your cadence. I'm going to leave it on gear for now. All right, and if I shift up to 6th gear, let's put in a little bit more power. 14 miles an hour, 15. Let's see if we can get closer to 20 miles per hour. All right, 17. And yeah, working a decent amount now. In 6th gear, approaching the 20 mile per hour mark. And I will say the motor is quieter than the Aventure 3. I can still hear it. It's just a different sound. Hopefully you can pick that up from the audio a little bit. All right, let's go into sport mode. I'm going to shift up to 7th gear. And I can already tell it's just easier to hold me at 17 miles an hour. And yeah, getting close to 20. There we go. 8th gear. The shifting, man, can't speak highly enough of it. There's 21, and I would say moderate effort. Let's put in a little bit more. Let's go to 9th gear. All right, here we go. 23. Actually a little bit surprised that not even in the highest level of pedal assist, and still a pace I could continue for a decent amount of time, but my legs would feel it. There's 24 miles an hour. That hints a little bit maybe how turbo will feel. So I skipped over auto, which is before turbo. Shifting up 6th, 7th, 8th. So let's see what the cruising speed is, just at a very nice and easy pedaling cadence. So yeah, very easy to cruise at 20, maybe even higher. Let's go into 9th gear, 21. I'm going to shift into 10th gear. So slower cadence, but man, it's pretty easy to hit 23 or 24. Let me increase the power from my own legs just a little bit here. Oh, wow, 26, okay. And just a little bit more. Let's see if we can hit 28. 27, and there's 28. So you do have to put in effort. I wouldn't say it's a ton to 28. So let's see, the power according to the display says 155, 190 I saw, and there's 28 miles an hour. Bouncing around or right around 150 now. And let's see what it says, my cadence is 83 and holding at 28 miles per hour. Let's test out the brakes at this pull here. Probably heard me locking up the tires a little bit, but yeah, 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes from a name brand. You know you're gonna have a lot of stopping power. I will actually say though, I actually really like the Tektro hydraulic disc brakes that Aventon uses on the Aventure 3. I imagine most people, unless you're really hard on the brakes, maybe doing some crazy descents, the average person probably not going to be able to tell the difference between those two brakes. All right, next, auto shift. Now, forewarning, I have been hesitant to auto shift bikes, at least ones with derailleurs, and that's just because sometimes it's just not as smooth, but I really want to talk about how it performs on this bike. So I went into the app. All right, I have auto shift turned on, cadence set to 65, sensitivity turned all the way up, so it's going to shift maybe a little bit faster than it otherwise would. And then they have the motor torque limit. And actually what that is it temporarily lowers motor torque during shifts to protect your drivetrain. Talked a little bit about that. They say it's especially helpful during steep climbs, heavy loads, or aggressive riding. So that's kind of a safety feature they have in there. And another really cool thing is you can toggle on and off automatic shifting, and the way you do that is this button behind here. So it's green right now, and now it's blue, which means I'm going to start shifting gears because I was in 10th gear, shifting down here. All right, so I'm going to start here. I'm in 4th gear, and eco, it went down to 3 for a second, and I imagine it's going to work its way up here. And I did configure this, so I did the whole put the pedal, crank, vertical to kind of configure this so it knows optimally when to shift, again, to not cause undue stress on the drivetrain. All right, there's 5th gear, 11 miles an hour. I'm going to go up to sport. We'll start getting into higher gears. There we go, 6th. And I have to say, it actually performs really well going up in gears. I was playing around with the cadence, and 65 feels really good to me. And we're in 8th gear right now, just cruising at 17 miles an hour. So if you don't like shifting, you don't want to think about it, this is a good option, though there's one thing to think about that I'll get into. Let's go into turbo so we can hit higher speeds. So we're in 8th gear now, and I'm hoping it shifts. There we go, and we're in 10th gear now. And so let's go down gear. So I'm going to get up in speed. Obviously, 10th is the highest gear, and then if I slow down a little bit, or just slow my cadence, and this is where I think some of these systems struggle. So it did go down to 9. We're still at 18 miles an hour. So it's not as fast going down in gears. And we have a stoplight ahead of us. And so I'm going to slow down. And this is where I would temporarily override this. I want to be in a lower gear when this light turns green. And what's nice is you can override it when you need to, though eventually it will start wanting to get you in your preferred cadence. Go around this vehicle and go through the lights. And there we go. It's shifting me 2 times, 3 times, 4 times in 7th gear. Started at 3rd gear, and we're in 9th gear. So pretty fast shifts to get me to my preferred cadence. So it's there if you like it. If you don't like it, that's fine too. You can just use the paddle shifters. Those are pretty darn easy too. And just know that you'll probably have to spend time within the app to see where your preferred cadence is. Everyone has a preference. Some people want to spin their legs faster, slower. I liked 65. All right, next I'm going to go into auto. This is a first for Aventon. Other electric bikes have had this, and it's kind of just your set it and forget it pedal assist level. Now, I for sure loved it on the Bosch e-mountain bikes. I thought it performed really well. That was on a true e-mountain bike. Sometimes when you're doing a little bit more intense riding, you can't always just change your pedal assist levels, so it was nice to have auto. So right now, going about 13 miles an hour, 6th gear, and I imagine if I put in a little bit more power, there we go, the bike is going to shift me, and it's going to change how much power I'm getting from the motor. So you're not as limited on a top speed. You can see I'm getting to 20 miles per hour. Whereas if I was in eco, like probably not going to happen unless I'm putting in a ton of power. Let's see if I can get to 28 or at least close to it. And there we go, cruising up, 26, and there's 28. So that's pretty cool. It kind of reads what your legs are doing and adjusts your pedal assist accordingly. So I suppose if you want to, you can go auto here, auto there, and you just don't have to touch anything really. All right, and this is a fat tire electric bike after all, so let's do a little bit of off-road riding. I know a lot of people considering this bike might already be avid bikers, and the mid-drive is appealing to them, rightfully so. Maybe you don't want a true mountain bike like the Rambless. Maybe you live in Wisconsin like I do and you want to do some fat biking in the winter. That extra width certainly helps. And so I thought I would at least take it on some single track. Clearly the motor being on the Rambless as well is certainly capable. The fat tire is just going to be a lot less nimble, of course. But on a nice trail like this that's not super technical, I think this bike is just fine. Going over some routes here, I do think there might be some slight concerns with the suspension. That might be something that the more avid crowd would want to upgrade on this bike, especially when you compare it to the Rambless. And actually feeling that suspension seat post doing some work here as well. And I think, and of course, another use case with this bike is right here. This is actually a cross-country trail for winter, but maybe you live in an area where there's double track. And certainly it would be nice to have some fatter tires on something like this, going to give you some increased comfort. And then we get into some crushed gravel. Again, another perfect use case for this bike. Really, the fat tire category rose to popularity because, at least I believe, a lot of people don't know what they're going to get into when they're buying an electric bike. So why not buy the thing that's more versatile? Now, of course, that has its own caveats, namely the weight of these beefy fat tire e-bikes, but this is definitely an area where I feel like this bike could be at home. Someone that wants to do some exploring, maybe not a true mountain biker, maybe not doing super technical terrain, but wants a mid-drive. I mean, I just can't speak highly enough about this mid-drive motor. It just has so much power. And actually going up some of these bumps, I can feel the suspension doing some work over these ruts. But I do think if you're used to higher end components, you're going to notice that this suspension is just not as premium. And the pedaling experience is just so natural. I actually haven't had to shift much, but I love the almost instantaneous shifting. It feels so smooth. So that is certainly one of the highlights. Another thing to consider is the classification. Remember, I put a throttle on this, so it's technically a class 2 electric bike. Not that I've used the throttle, and you can easily disconnect it, but certainly if you're in an area where they're very strict about these sort of things, you want to be aware of the regulations. All right, with that, let's see what this mid-drive can do up our hill climb test. This is the hill that I test out all the electric bikes that I review on the channel. The GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it is, so we'll put up a picture as well as the specs. And currently in 7th gear, let's go to 8th gear. Now, perhaps unsurprisingly, I'm likely to have to shift down, but we'll see. Again, you just don't want to put so much stress on the drivetrain in a high gear going up a massive hill. All right, hills starting now, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, I'm going to shift down. There's 7th gear. Want to be really careful on the drivetrain. 11, I'm going to shift down a little bit more. 6th gear, holding us at 10. Let's go down one more gear. There's 5th gear. And remember, your mid-drive motor is going to be happiest in basically the lowest gear. Right now, cruising at 11. 5th gear, not too bad. This is probably a good time to listen to that motor. Much quieter than its hub drive counterparts, or most hub drive counterparts. All right, and we made it to the top. Plenty of power in this A100 motor. But remember that uphill start setting? Let's test that out and go up the hill while pedaling. All right, so we have uphill start assist on. Helps you start more easily on inclines. It uses cadence, power input, slope, and crank angle to apply support quickly. Then returns to normal after one full rotation. We're going to crank that all the way up. All right, we are where the hill starts. I have it in 1st gear. It's in turbo. Automatic shifting's turned on, though I might want to change that. Let's see if we can get started. Of course, I do have the throttle. That's another nice feature to be able to just start throttling a little bit to get started. But let's see if it can help me climb. And there we go, actually. It gives you a decent amount of support. And okay, we are climbing quite rapidly in turbo. So that's another just small feature on this electric bike. that I think is cool. Perhaps unsurprisingly, in eco first gear, I mean, I could actually make it up the hill. I wouldn't be super winded at the top, but certainly putting some pedal pressure on. Let's go into sport. Okay, significant difference there, at least right from the start. Climbing in speed, 8 miles per hour, third gear. And actually the auto shifting is not bad. This is a good cadence for going up this hill. Let's go into turbo. All right, it just shows off how much power this mid-drive bike has. The 100 Newton meters of torque. I mean, I'm just very gently spinning my legs and we're going 10 miles an hour. Fifth gear, definitely a great hill climber. Let's see what happens when I go to auto. All right, it's shifting me down, which is great. But I think I would need to put more pedal pressure from my legs in order to get to higher speed. It actually would be fine, but you certainly get more assist in turbo. But certainly something to test out if you buy this electric bike. And we made it to the top of our hill climb test. With that, let's get into some third-person riding footage. I'll give you the pros and cons of the Aventon Aventure M. What stands out to me is just how much Aventon has changed since the A100 made its debut on the Ramblers. This truly is the smartest fat tire e-bike and an e-bike that is looking towards the future. Yes, with Aventon's ACU and all of what that entails, but now the paddle shifters with electronic shifting, automatic shifting if you want it, being able to calibrate the automatic shifting so it's calibrated just right, automatic pedal assist, hill start assist settings. There are just so many things that I really had to make sure I talked about each one during this review. No e-bike is perfect, and at $28.99, it's a good jump from the Aventure 3, which is their hub drive fat tire e-bike. I'll get into that comparison and who I think the Aventure M really is for in a second, as well as talk about its key considerations. But first, let's talk about what makes this bike special. The performance of the A100 motor did not disappoint even on a beefier fat tire e-bike. The brakes are name brand from SRAM, and the Q's derailleur in our testing has been extremely reliable. Paired with the paddle shifters, it does feel like a more premium experience, and it should be for the increased costs. Plus, those who have a throttle on their must-haves for their e-bike can still get one on the Aventure M even though this is a mid-drive. Aventon's bikes also continue to stand out for their aesthetics, and the Aventure M is no different. So who is the Aventure M really for, and should you buy the Aventure M or the Aventure 3? Here's my take. I think the Aventure M will appeal to the more avid riders who refuse to ride a hub motor e-bike and maybe appreciate the newer Q's derailleur and electronic shifting. Also, the 10-speed drivetrain might be something that this audience is more familiar with. Now, I want to be clear that I still think the Aventure 3 is a phenomenal e-bike. There's a reason it's one of the most popular fat tire e-bikes, but it does have a louder motor, and I do think you get a slightly more connected experience with the A100 motor. On the other hand, those who prefer simplicity might like the Aventure 3 for the ability to just hit the throttle whenever you want and not worry about what gear you're in. Same goes for being able to just more easily ignore what gear you're in. If you're one of those people that never shift gears on your e-bike, then the Aventure 3 is probably the better bet. And then finally, you have the $900 price difference between these two bikes, so it's really going to depend on the features that you want to prioritize. And here are the other considerations on my list for the Aventure M. First off, it's just one frame style, a high step, so if you want a step through, maybe the Aventure 3 is a better option for you. Next is the front suspension. I think it's a good setup for recreational riding, but I would have liked to see something a little bit more robust from a name brand, much like they did on the Ramblers. Likewise with the suspension seat post, I'm glad to have one, but it would have been a deal sweetener if it had one that was more higher end. A small gripe is the USB-A port underneath the display instead of a USB-C port, and on these newer Aventon e-bikes, just keep in mind the charger port location is a bit awkward at the bottom of the battery. For some, it might be easier to charge your battery off the bike. If we've helped you with your purchase decision, do me one quick favor and use our link down in the description before you buy from Aventon. Scan the QR code on your screen, or if you do decide to buy in store, just email me your receipt. Ryan@ebikeescape.com. Thank you so much for your support. It truly makes reviews like this one possible. Aventon is stepping into more premium priced e-bikes with the launch of the Aventure M, and it's nice to see a big brand with a mid-drive fat tire electric bike. Now those who are eyeing up a fat tire e-bike from Aventon now have 2 options, and I'll always take more choice. I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section below. Would you go with the Aventure 3 or the Aventure M? What bike should Aventon put the A100 motor on next? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.